Right now, on your eyelashes and on your face, there are tens of thousands of microscopic skin mites doing what they do, eating. Imagine if they were the size of beetles and there were tens of thousands eating your face. It might be a problem. Sounds kind of disgusting, actually. Anyway, that's called Little Things Big. It's my newest story coming out April 17th, 2026. And I'm looking forward to scaring the poop out of you, honestly. So after Wuhan, China, we know that lab accidents do happen. And that's kind of what this story is about. It's about manipulation. So we're manipulating tiny little creatures to make them big. Big Ag has a plan to feed the world. 1,200-pound cattle are going to be 15,000-pound cattle, the size of elephants. You can feed a lot of people with that. Cattle, sheep, pigs, supersizing animals. But the early experiments, they started with skin mites because they were the easiest genetic project to work on. Problem is, accidents can happen. And so when you've got a lab full of people working and you invite guests in the VIP party, and then these things get released from the lab, it's the makings of a pretty good horror story. So anyway, I'm looking forward to you guys all checking out Little Things Big when it is released. And as I said, it's a story about manipulation, manipulating genetically modified organisms, and even the people in the story are being manipulated. But I don't want to give away too much. So what do I write about? Is it always horror? No. I write thrillers. My first books came out in 2005. Crescent Fire was the very first release. This was a counterterrorism story. I wrote an entire series, 6 books called The Team. Those were all military espionage stories. Hard Carbon, that was a science fiction crime thriller when I wrote it, but it took 10 years to get it published. And by the time it was published, it was no longer science fiction. It was just a crime story because everything I wrote in the book actually happened. That's happened quite a few times, actually. Necessary Extremes was the part 2 of Crescent Fire. If you were to read the story now, you wouldn't think it was that original because evidently the Mossad must have read my book and hit Iran with the pagers. So I think they got some of those ideas from me, from my story 20 years ago. So, all right, military espionage, crime, horror, science fiction. And I just finished an historic fiction story set in ancient Rome and around the year 900 in the Dark Ages. That one's still being worked on. But I just basically like to write about whatever I think is interesting. You're sitting here in my wine room with me. People also, they often ask me, where do you do your writing? Where does the work take place? Honestly, I could care less. The work takes place in here, not necessarily in here. Sometimes I write in here. Sometimes I write at the kitchen table. Sometimes I write sitting on the beach. Sometimes I write at the island in my kitchen. It doesn't really matter. When the story's going in your head, the story's going in your head. I wake up dreaming about the book I'm working on. I get to the morning coffee and then start immediately thinking about what I saw last night. And basically, I'm just describing the movie in my head. That's how I write. One of these days, someone's going to take the movie in my head and put it on the big screen, and then we can all sit and have popcorn together and watch these things on the big screen. That would be fun. That hasn't happened yet. But if you know a guy in Hollywood, give me a call because I would love to see this stuff translated to the big screen. I wrote a novella. It's called Battle Scars. It's been widely acclaimed from the military community. That was actually a screenplay that I backed into a book. And then the book was only 120 pages, so it wasn't going to be long enough for any major publisher. So I self-published that one. And most of the money from that book went to send boxes of vodka disguised as soda to Afghanistan to my buddies. Shh, don't tell anybody. The statute of limitations has probably expired, and those guys are out of the Marine Corps and Army by now anyway, so it's okay. Anyway, my name is Dave Salkin, and I hope you'll check out some of my books. You've got 16 to choose from. There's more in the pipeline. And a special shout out to Joe Meinhardt and the folks at Crystal Lake Publishing for the opportunity to bring you Little Things Big. I hope you're going to check it out.